Today, we are going to recreate a scene from the notorious SALTBURN. Yeah, not that scene. Let's talk about SALTBURN. The film that, isn't everybody's cup of tea, thanks to some, let's just say, very fluid-based scenes. But despite all this, it's a visually stunning film, no doubt about it, thanks to some beautiful lighting and cinematography, which is what we're going to be focusing on today as we try to recreate a scene from the film. So with that said, we just need to pick a scene, something, we can achieve in one day. So, not this, because unsurprisingly, we don't have access to a fucking mansion. But this, my friend, is doable. Plus, we already bought this massive red rug off Facebook Marketplace for 20 quid for a shoot that got cancelled. And I hate wasting money. Right, so the first thing we need to do is try to recreate this window frame, as it's a pretty essential part to this scene. We're going to achieve this by using a spotlight with a gobo. Now, a gobo is something that you place inside the light to create shape, and they come in various forms, like a window frame, stars, foliage, a cat, if you want a cat. Yeah, what else? Your nan. With the spotlight and window frame in place and positioned at the right angle and shooting through some CTS, which is basically this orange gel here, which helps replicate morning sun. We could then move on to the rest of the lighting. Now the spotlight was obviously going to be our key light, but we also needed some ambient light to fill in the rest of the frame and lift some of those shadows. Say hello to the Aperture 300D, which is our light of choice for recreating the ambient light in the room, which Thomas is kindly setting up as we plan to shoot through some diffusion to create some nice soft light. But why? Why do this?
Why?
Hello Thomas, talk to me, what's going on here?
So, spotlight, it's very intense light. So to bring up the exposure of the shadows, got a lovely little ambient number going on.
Do you know what, mate? That sounds absolutely delicious. As with the spotlight, we are also adding some CTS to make sure the shadows are a little bit on the warm side to match our sunlight coming through the window. So after flipping our ambient light to the other side and getting our camera into its top-down position, we noticed we had a problem with our bin shadow. What's the problem, I hear you ask? Well, the shadow was going in the wrong direction, so unless we're pretending this is set on some sort of planet that happens to have two suns, this would need sorting out. Which, we did, by flagging off, i.e. blocking out, some of the ambient fill light to cover the bin in darkness and thus hide the shadowy mistake. Now that everything was in place, it was time to fill the room with some haze. So obviously I pulled out a pack of cigarillos and smoked about 20 in the space of 7 minutes, creating a beautiful toxic mist that you would actually think would be unbearable. And you'd be completely right, because it was unbearable, and our eyeballs started to bleed and I was almost rendered unconscious and Thomas started to scream. And yeah, obviously I'm just taking the piss. We just used a hazer like normal people would. And which hazer was that? For anyone that's interested, it was the Hurricane Haze 1DX. So I appreciate that it's quite hard to sometimes visualize what each light is doing. So we're going to go through and turn each light off to show you what effect it's having. But before I do this, there's one last piece that's missing to make our scene complete. So he's there.
Yeah.
So that's where I need to be, obviously with my top off.
Yeah, so obviously he's in pretty good shape, mate. Yeah, you reckon you can achieve that?
Yeah, I reckon about 5 push-ups should do it.
Yeah, you got that in you, mate.
Alright, so let's get back to why we're all here. Unless you were here for the bath scene, then I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. So let's break this shot down. First of all, we have the spotlight with our window frame shape, i.e. gobo, acting as our key light, which is shooting through some CTS to replicate morning sun. Next, we have our 300D acting as our fill light to lift up the shadows, which is firing through some diffusion to keep it nice and soft. We We also have a couple of flags to cut out any unwanted light. The sort of unwanted light that was causing the shadow on the bin. And there we have it. We've recreated a scene from Saltburn without any liquidy bath action.